James Altucher, he's been on many times on a very good comedy show, good friend of a very good comedy show, and he's been on MSNBC. His stories are incredible. Actually had a documentary series that's been produced about him. So we're going to show the clip of that, and then we're going to talk to him about his journey. You'll never meet a more interesting person than this guy, Mr. James Altucher. And I'm going to share. Hopefully this will work.
For my entire life, I had never had more than $100 in my bank account before. And now suddenly, I had millions of dollars in my bank account. So I started just throwing all the money around.
James Altucher made it in the tech world. He made a lot of money. He's got one of the most popular podcasts out there. He's got a great blog that everybody loves. And he seems to have figured out the secret of life.
He writes things that people connect with. He has this insatiable need to communicate stuff with people.
You don't own a home.
Don't own a home.
You don't even rent a home. You don't rent a home.
Travel around Airbnbs because they're usually furnished.
I was able to, for 2 years, own nothing and live nowhere, and yet I lived quite well.
This dude is like the realest dude in the podcast world.
James, as the investor, when he goes big, fast, he is completely fearless.
I bought the biggest apartment in New York City and totally redesigned it from scratch. I started investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in every company I could find.
I needed the money.
And I lost everything. I felt it was like the end of my life. I felt suicidal. I'm worth nothing. So as a father, I'm worth nothing. But at least I can die and give them $4 million life insurance policy. So I found the perfect way to kill myself.
He definitely had some bleak years, and it was always hard to track him down.
I keep making money. I keep losing it, all of it. I mean, I had done this so many times. It was like I was a one-man science experiment about failure.
When you're at that point, when you're on the ground, when you're crying, when you feel there's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do, what can you do to come back from the grave?
I realized I needed to develop a philosophy just for me, for myself internally, to succeed. I needed to choose myself for success.
Choose Yourself actually helped me get through federal prison.
Well, it ain't cheap being cold.
He's like part sage, part comedian, part businessman.
So dogs talk to me. I have a special connection with dogs. Dogs do not want to jog with you, right? Who jogs with their dog here? Just admit it. Some of you jog with your dogs, and some of you are Jewish. It's okay. For a podcast, no matter who the guest is, I have to put myself through experiences that are out of my comfort zone. Does anyone know how I get back to Hogwarts? I got on the wrong train station for Hogwarts. Most of the day, I need to zero task. I need to do nothing. Else, I won't have anything to say or any unique thing to write about because I've always just been hustling, which is really boring. But I'm still curious, why are you taking 2 hours worth of photos here? We've been here for, we've seen you here for 2 hours.
It's just a hobby, and it's actually freezing cold.
The only real answer is, I want to get rich. Choosing yourself is to not be imprisoned by the constant stories society tries to enslave us with.
How many times has he been broke? Probably by now again. He'll be rich tomorrow.
I forgot. It's a new. I had to share with the screen. So James is coming in now, but I love Gino at the end.
And there's James.
James is here. Welcome, James.
What's up, man? Welcome. We see you, but we don't hear you yet.
He's on mute. We got to get him off.
I got kind of depressed watching that.
Did you really, man?
Yeah, it's I'm always reminded, oh, he went broke. He was suicidal. He had to figure out how to kill himself.
Right. Well, it sounds like you've done the broken back thing plenty of times.
Yes.
As far as I don't know how much time you spent in that lowest point, man. But I'm super curious to hear when you were there. What made you one, realized you needed to get out, and then two, how do you do that? What practices? What do you put in place?
I think I wanted to get out because it's like so painful to know, like I had 2 kids to raise. I was losing my home. I was going bankrupt. How was I going to pay for these kids? And I thought I had it all figured out, and then I had nothing figured out. And so I think it was like the 4th time this had happened. Like literally making the money, selling a business, whatever, the 4th time, and then going broke again. And I remember just thinking, how could this keep happening? Like, why is this happening again and again and again? And I did sort of take a look and say, what was going right on the way up and what was always going wrong on the way down? And I realized there was one thing in common, is that coming up with ideas is like a muscle. And so if you got, like, let's say you were in the hospital for a few weeks and you were in bed, you would need physical therapy to walk again, because your leg muscles would atrophy that quickly. And it's the same with the idea muscle. Your idea muscle will atrophy if you don't use it, constantly. So I started writing down on a waiter's pad 10 ideas a day just to exercise that muscle. There were bad ideas. I still do it every single day. But after a while, it's like you rewire the brain and you strengthen that idea muscle, and things start to click. You start to come up with creative ideas. Most of them are bad, but some of them make money, and you feel excited about life again. Even if all the ideas are bad, the one outcome is you get excited about life, and you keep pushing, and you keep trying things and experimenting with things. Life is really all, you just are constantly experimenting. Some of the experiments work out, some of them don't, but in the long run, you just need a few experiments to create a light bulb, and then boom, things are good. And
awesome.
that I'm almost like anxious. If I don't write ideas down every day, I can't function during the day.
What was one of today's ideas?
Well, today I read an article in the morning about how people are dating now using Zoom because everybody's locked down. So I figured, okay, I'm married, but what would I want? What are 10 things I would want if I was dating and using Zoom? So for instance, there's software where you could tell if someone is smiling for real or faking a smile. So there's more wrinkles in the eyes if they're smiling for real. So
I wouldn't want that, man. That would paranoid me way too much.
Yeah, well, but I would want on my side, like I could just flick a switch, and then I could tell if the person I'm dating is what percentage of the time they're smiling for real as opposed to smiling fake. So that's one feature. Another thing is I'd want to secretly invite my friends onto the video date and give me like things to say and like comments about my days. Like I call this the Cyrano feature. So these were just 2 things on my idea list for today.
Nice. I would just go for strong internet connection. I think.
Well, because you're a good-looking guy, I need all the help I can get. You're like no problem. Like this girl needs to like prove herself to me. I'm like, I need to kind of scam this somehow, and I need all my friends in the video room, and I need artificial intelligence to make me smarter so I can see what's going on, and 8 more features.
Yeah,
Man,
James,
Robert.
Sorry. When Robert and we've been working together now and Jeff and I have been for almost about 3.5 years, going on 4. And Robert's had these conversations about dating because I'm married too, and I'm out of that game for a long time now. And he'll go, I just talked this girl on Tinder, and I'm just honest. Like I'm not looking for anything, but if you want to come over, come over. He said, I think they just come over because I'm so honest with them.
Yeah,
like, you're adorable. That's why you think they come over. Yeah. So anyway, he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I've been obsessed with the show Catfish for so many years, and I don't even know how people do the Zoom thing. People fall in love with people that won't even FaceTime with them, and now people are dating on Zoom. I just like the physical thing is so important. I just don't get it.
Yeah, because I think so much of dating, right, is chemistry and is they say you kind of smell the hormones and stuff. And but yeah, people are video dating. So I figured maybe in this video dating situation, I could have an advantage if I have the right technology on my side. So that was my idea list for the day. And then I was thinking, maybe I should just send this to Zoom. They should start building these features. Who knows? So I'm trying to think of some other features I wrote down, but I would have like Google, here, this was a feature. So there'd be real-time transcription of everything they're saying, and I would have Google constantly looking everything up so that I would be like, oh yeah, you like the Pittsburgh Pirates, it was kind of cool that they won that game 10-9 today, and so hit so many home runs, like just giving me information to talk about. So again, I'd be totally fake, but at least it would make me survive the date so I could prepare for the second date.
See, I bet that becomes the norm, if not in like Zoom dating now, like Google Glass, the glasses that they have. I bet that if it doesn't already, I'm sure they'll get a feature where whenever you're discussing something, it gives you little fun facts on the side.
Yeah, I mean, we're already almost cyborg-like creatures, right? Like everyone on Twitter is like, oh, well, the fourth Secretary of State was this guy. He wasn't any. Everybody's just using Google all the time to act smarter now on social media. So why not just extend it to every other area of life?
Right.
So, but in reality, so I was going through all these situations and exercising this idea muscle, and then every now and then, if you come up with 10 ideas a day, most ideas are going to be horrible, but every now and then I'd have an idea that it felt like a good idea, and I would, execute. The next day I would write, here's 10 ideas on how to execute on this idea. And then I'd start executing a little bit. And I modeled my life by doing experiments. So an experiment is something which has very little downside, costs very little in terms of money or time, but has enormous upside if it works out. And even if it quote unquote fails, at least you learn something. So I wouldn't take any action unless I modeled it as an experiment based on these ideas I was having. And so you do all these experiments, and every now and then 1 in 1,000 come through. And then I've been able to be a little bit more consistent, and I stick with that discipline. So I used to think, oh, once you make money, that's it. I did my job as a human being. I'm done. And then of course I would lose everything. And so now it's more about being around good people, and then everything I do is based on some experiment I'm trying.
Awesome. When did comedy come into the fold for you? When did you start performing?
So I worked at HBO with HBO Comedy in the 90s, in the late 90s. And so I would go to all the comedy festivals. I love comedy. I remember interviewing Dave Chappelle. He must have been like a teenager at the time. And seeing Louis C.K. had a full head of hair at the time. And but I was too scared to do comedy on my own, but I was always watching it and thinking about it. And even when I did public speaking, I would try to make it like comedy. And about 6 years ago, I started going on stage, I started doing it. I was terrified. And everybody would tell me, oh, you can't do this. You got to be doing it for 20 years before you start getting more stage time. And so whenever someone tells me you can't do this, I'm determined to, success is only on the other side of all the people who tell you can't all the time. And so I was just determined to really work at this and succeed at it. And, I got obsessed. I started like thinking about comedy and watching comedy and doing comedy up to like 30 or 40 hours a week. It superseded everything else in my life. And just, I guess around 5 years ago, I started doing it all the time.
Yeah, you're working hard. I mean, we've had you on our show many times, and you're anywhere you'll go up, and I appreciate that about you.
And with your show, it's an interesting challenge because I don't want to repeat material, so I always have to make sure I'm constantly writing. So because I don't know if it's the same audience, for your show each time, and so I'm constantly trying to come up with new material every time I'm on one of your shows. But thank you guys for inviting me on your shows.
Oh, of course, we love it. Are you writing anything now?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one thing, I actually just finished a book more on, and in this book, I write about my comedy experiences and some other experiences. But yeah, right now we're in an interesting world because everybody always says, "Oh, when are we going to get back to the new normal?" As if A, the old normal was good, but B, we're not. What's normal about what's new, or what? There's not going to be a new normal. That's what people don't realize. We're going into a huge reset right now. So for whatever you're doing, let's say you're a comedian, all the old stuff is gone. That is just dead on arrival. Now we're in this, the whole world has reset itself and is in the process of being literally birthed again. It's like we're coming out of like this universal vagina to just be born again. And you have to, all materials new now. Anybody who's not coming up with new material, they're forgetting that what happened the past 6 months. It's a completely different world.
Yeah, it is, and I think in many ways it's better. Like even New York City, the fact they're shutting down the subway to clean it. When they said they were doing that, I'm like, why didn't we do that before? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
the city that never sleeps should have probably taken a nap or two.
Why did it take 140,000 people to die before they cleaned a subway?
Like, I mean, people say, well, why is New York such a hot spot? I'm like, it's a hot. I mean, the fact you're going to touch somebody for 5 minutes a day, at least if you leave your apartment, even if you don't want, I mean, on a subway. And I think a lot of things are better, even on a comedy standpoint. I think we're embracing this model, and there'll be some form of live show for us. We do shows out of the city and in smaller towns, and they have a lot more opportunities for shows like that. But I think it's going to be in many ways better.
Let me ask you a question. Like, other than the anxiety, the death and despair, and the protests and the rioting and the murder hornets and all that, lockdown lifestyle is pretty good. First off, you don't have to shake anyone's hand anymore. Or like you're shaking someone's hand and then they go for the bro hug and you don't know what to do. You get confused, or you have to kiss a woman hello, but you don't know one cheek, two cheeks, and so it messes up. Like now, all of that worry is gone. You don't have to look anyone in the eye anymore, because on Zoom, like I'm looking at you right now, Aric, but I'm not looking at my camera, so we're not actually looking each other in the eye. And I don't have to go anywhere. Like people ask me to do things, I don't have to say yes anymore. Like it's just so much easier right now. Like I love the lockdown lifestyle.
What you're saying is you're introverted.
I am introverted,
yeah.
but I'm extroverted when I'm like surrounded by four walls and no one's in the room with me.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, it's even just to watch how my kids react. My stepson didn't have his shoes on for 4 months, and like maybe 4 times in 3 months he put his shoes on. He went to put his shoes on, they didn't fit him anymore. He's 14, so we had to buy him a new pair of shoes.
I totally get it.
My daughter though, she had to leave the house all the time. She just can't. She has to be around people. So just different.
Yeah, my daughter's been hanging out with her friends and stuff. But I totally get it with your son with the shoes. This I'm wearing right now, and this is the 47th day in a row, I'm wearing pajamas. And I have not worn anything but pajamas day and night for 47 days in a row, because I'm doing a little and I've been out, I've been in restaurants, I've been on an airplane. I just wear pajamas because pajamas are the most comfortable clothes. So why, by definition, you sleep in pajamas. So why wear anything else if you don't have to? And the experiment is, I'm going to try to design like so it looks like outerwear, but it's actually pajamas, and then maybe I'll create my own pajama fashion line. I think it's a good business idea now.
Yeah, there's definitely models that could do that. It's unique. Yeah. Unique time. James, we've got to move. We got our next guest waiting, and but we appreciate you being here. And
thank you guys so much for inviting me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy your shows. Thank you so much. Again, it's always a good experience hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, we miss you, man. Can't wait to see you in person and have awkward bro hugs again.
Yeah.
All right, man. You take care. Great seeing you.
All right. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.